Hyundai Elantra AD of the 6th generation 2016-2020 years of release. Good day! If you are wondering is it worth buying the 6th generation Elantra and what problems you may encounter during operation, then you're at the right place. So the basic power unit for the Hyundai Elantra is a 1.6-liter G4FG petrol 4 with a capacity of 128 horsepower. The same engine can be found in almost all Kia Hyundai models sold in the Russian market. Simple distributed injection cast iron cylinder liners, a simple design by modern standards are the unambiguous advantages of the Gamma family unit. But there were some nuances that spoiled the impression of the engine. At first, buyers of Korean cars were quite surprised that the 1.6-liter unit emits a characteristic clatter during operation, which immediately evokes associations with diesel engines. To the credit of the Koreans, it is worth saying that they didn't dismiss the problem and quickly found out that the sound was caused by the operation of the injectors and didn't indicate any problems. In other words, it's just worth getting used to. However, it has long been noticed that diesel becomes a little less noticeable when using quality fuel. The timing chain drive is relatively noisy in the 1.6-liter engine, but this is perhaps the only complaint against him. The chain will not have to be changed up to at least 150,000 kilometers. Of course, this indicator is not a record, but by modern standards it's not bad at all. A timing chain kit for a 1.6-liter engine will cost from 15,000 rubles. Phase shifters of the CVVT system control not only the intake but also the exhaust shafts. Often faulty couplings are to blame for the uneven operation of the engine, but you should not rush to conclusions. In many cases, the power unit will start working properly again after cleaning the throttle valve. If this doesn't help, then you should first update the candles and then check the performance of the ignition coils. An extremely gentle catalyst is the main weak point of a Korean car engine. In order for the catalyst to begin to crumble, it's enough to refuel with low-quality fuel several times. It's not surprising that many owners, after the expiration of the warranty period for a car or overcoming 120,000 kilometers, remove the catalyst without regret. Of course, from the point of view of preserving the ecology, such a decision should by no means be welcomed. However, for the motor, removing the catalyst can be considered a big plus. Whatever one may say, but in the presence of a catalyst, there is a likelihood that the cylinder walls will sooner or later suffer from ceramic sand. When choosing an Elantra with a 1.6-liter engine, you should come to terms with the fact that this power unit is considered dirty. Crankshaft oil seals and valve cover may start to leak oil a little before a run of 100,000 kilometers, and since repairing even small leaks is relatively expensive, most owners prefer to periodically check the lubrication level and top up engine oil as needed. Fortunately, its loss from replacement to replacement is not very large. However, if the engine compartment has not been thoroughly cleaned prior to sale, it will most likely be dirty. If with a mileage of 150,000 kilometers, almost pristine cleanliness is observed under the hood. This is a sure sign that the seller wants to hide the presence of oil leaks. Versions of the Hyundai Elantra with a 2-liter gasoline engine are less common in the secondary market. This is quite logical, since initially the already not the cheapest Korean sedan with a top-end 2.0-liter engine was quite expensive. A similar power unit bearing the G4NA index is still installed on the Creta crossover, so there will be no problems either with its maintenance or with possible repairs. Like the younger 1.6-liter engine, the 2-liter engine uses a chain in the valve train. Officially, the manufacturer assures that it is designed for the entire service life of the car, but it is rather an attempt to pass off wishful thinking. In reality, due to a weak tensioner, the chain can begin to rumble even after a mileage of 120,000 kilometers. Extraneous sounds are accompanied by tripping and unstable operation of the power unit. Naturally, with such symptoms, you cannot do without a thorough revision of the timing. Other typical problems with the 2-liter engine also overlap in many ways with those of the younger engine. Unfortunately, the 150 horsepower unit is not spared from the formation of seizures. As a rule, they are primarily formed in the third and fourth cylinders. Their condition, if endoscopy is carried out before buying a car, should be checked with particular care. Reducing the likelihood of scoring is easy enough. To do this, you should avoid active driving with a cold engine, avoid prolonged operation of the engine at idle, refuel with exceptionally high quality fuel and not save on oil service. Real operating experience shows that in the absence of serious problems with the piston group, a 2-liter unit can withstand at least 350–400,000 km before overhaul. During this time, as well as the owners of Elantra with a 1.6-liter engine, you will probably have to replace leaking gaskets and oil seals, as well as update a not very durable pump. In the latter, the axis of rotation is slightly displaced with wear, which leads to the formation of strong vibrations. The automatic 6-speed transmission on the Hyundai Elantra has proven itself very well. At first, this box was characterized by the so-called childhood diseases, manifested in problems with the solenoids and valve body, but by the time the 6th generation of the Korean sedan debuted, they had been eliminated. Already in 2016, changes were made to the calibration of the gearbox, due to which the likelihood of premature failure of the torque converter clutch lock was significantly reduced. Even before the debut of the 6th Elantra, engineers also dealt with a faulty temperature sensor for the working fluid of the box. As for the maintenance of the automatic transmission, it's allegedly not required officially. Say transmission fluid poured into the box can be considered a vein. In fact, in our conditions, it should be replaced every 60,000 kilometers. With careful driving and timely maintenance, the 6-speed automatic will last at least 200–250,000 km until overhaul. A mechanical 6-speed transmission has a similar resource, but if you plan to move exclusively in the city, then mechanics can hardly be considered the best choice. And the point in this case is not even that the gears will have to be switched on their own. With predominantly city driving, the resource of the release bearing is seriously reduced. In addition, you will have to pay attention to the condition of the shaft bearings and the input shaft oil seal. Problems with the switching drive cannot be ruled out. Many owners had to replace it even before the run of 150,000 kilometers. It should also be understood that the Elantra is a purely asphalt vehicle. Unlike the same Hyundai Creta, the Korean sedan feels uncomfortable even on a seemingly harmless slightly broken dirt road. The anthers of CV joints suffer from uneven roads, which in the worst case can win a break. If on the related hatchback Kia seat a multi-link scheme is used in the rear suspension, then for the Hyundai Elantra sedan a semi-independent beam, more traditional for cars of this class, is chosen. Perhaps a multi-link suspension would help slightly improve the balance of comfort and handling, but it would have to pay for more expensive maintenance and repairs. Meanwhile, the Elantra also handles well, but at the same time its owners hardly remember the existence of the rear suspension. At least during the guaranteed 100,000 kilometers, you definitely won't have to do anything with it. The McPherson front suspension is a little more complex and therefore will require more attention. Tie rod ends can withstand 45–50,000 kilometers on average. Wheel bearings can withstand about 60–70,000 kilometers. Ball joints last longer, up to 80–90,000 kilometers. Since they are bolted, the levers do not have to be removed to replace them. This makes repairs inexpensive. Shock absorbers and springs, with predominant driving on uneven roads, withstand about 100,000 kilometers. If you are lucky enough to drive exclusively on smooth asphalt, they can last up to 150,000 kilometers. There are no complaints about the brake system of the Korean sedan. Native brake discs, with not the most aggressive driving, can withstand 100–120,000 kilometers. Perhaps claims can be made only to the wiring going to the rear sensors of the anti-lock braking system. It's not protected in the best way, which is why in our conditions it may require replacement after 120–150,000 kilometers. When buying an Elantra, you definitely shouldn't worry about clouded body elements and worn out windows. Such shortcomings are now typical for almost all modern cars, as well as weak paintwork. To some extent now the 6th generation Elantra plays into the hands of the small age of even the first produced copies, but the operating experience of both the sedan of the previous generation and related models from Kia suggests that from repainting the thresholds and the formation of rust on the edge of the windshield and wheel arches, Hyundai Elantra is not insured. Owners of Hyundai Elantra can fight squeaks, but this war is unlikely to end in victory. As the mileage increases, extraneous sounds in the cabin of the Korean sedan only become more. Over the years, the risk of a wiper blade jamming increases. If this happened, then there is a high probability that the mechanism has never seen lubrication in its life. New Elantra owners are advised to lubricate the trapezoid immediately after purchasing the vehicle. In addition, the additional portion of grease will not damage the door handles or the locks, or even the body seals. The latter gradually harden without leaving and gradually begin to wipe the paintwork. In terms of electrics, the Elantra isn't perfect. Even on low mileage vehicles, the rear parking sensors and the keyless entry system may malfunction. After 4-5 years of intensive use, the heated front seats may fail. Sometimes the fault lies with the heating control unit, sometimes with the conductors themselves located in the seat cushion. By the way, over time, claims appear to the chairs themselves, and their finish and filler do not differ in exponential durability. And if the fabric on the seats over the years just stretches a little, which many owners simply do not notice, then the combined trim of the seats bursts. It's already impossible not to notice such a defect, as well as the fact that there is practically no expensive soft plastic in the cabin of the Korean sedan. But there is enough silver-colored plastic, which will probably be scratched even by neat owners. The 6th generation Hyundai Elantra in the Russian market lost the fight for a buyer, and the relative sedan Kia Cerato and the hatchback Kia Ceed and the Skoda Octavia of a similar size. Meanwhile, there is absolutely nothing to seriously criticize Elantra. The car received proven power units. Although they are not devoid of shortcomings, the latter can hardly be called critical. A similar picture is with gearboxes. In word, a used Hyundai Elantra of the 6th generation can be recommended for purchase. Be sure to write about this car in the comments if you are the owner. Your review will definitely help others to choose a car.